what's fascinating is how Canada will deploy them. You do have this legitimate high-end top pair in Cale Makar and Devon Toews. They're obviously very comfortable with each other. You don't need to worry about chemistry when it comes to those two, Liam. But Morrissey and Parayko, that's pure shutdown, baby. Like, I know Morrissey can move the puck and all that, but that's the duo, I think. Put them on the ice when you have that McKinnon-Crosby duo and Mark Stone, and you're just going to suffocate the other team's best players. And I want to see McDavid out there with Cale Makar against the other team's second or third line, depending on if you have first or last change. And I want to see them just going pedal to the floor and kill the other team with pace. But I love the idea of a shutdown line built around Morrissey and Parayko being on the ice. It's not something a lot of teams have in this.
No, definitely not. I would agree. And Seven went on to just say like how underrated Josh Morrissey was. I mean, what was it, 2 years ago we were calling him Josh Norrisy? Like he's a really, really great player. Also, his brother played for the Crew and scored a goalie goal once. That was huge. But yeah, that pairing is going to be pretty critical, I think. I know Colin Parayko was a controversial pick, you could say, but there's no doubting he's still got the brains and can still play at a high level as well. So I do like that pair. And like you said, with Theodore and Doughty, you got another offensive duo there. Very defensively responsible as well. A couple of Stanley Cup champions who, when Cale Makar goes out there with McDavid, you can then throw out that pairing to go and play with McKinnon and Crosby. Like the others, Canada have got a lot to work with here. Like every Canadian roster, when they go to these events, should. Canada has the best players in the world at the end of the day.
Yeah, and one thing that I do find interesting is just seeing in the practices yesterday almost the different approaches from the two sides. I described Canada's practice as being very militaristic. It was John Cooper, and every drill they were doing, it was like, blow the whistle, go, you're doing this exact thing, blow the whistle again, the drill changes directions. Like everything was complex, but they were very dialed in to what Cooper wanted from them. The USA practice early on had a similar serious vibe, but towards the end of it, like they had a group of 6 guys playing rebound, and at one point, Matt Tkachuk got frustrated with Brady Tkachuk and like threw his stick at him, and Jack Hughes was laughing and they're grabbing each other. Like it is interesting. And you see it a bit at the World Juniors too. Canada has this, I don't think arrogance is the right word, but they have a very serious tone about them at all times. USA has this swagger and like this cockiness. And I mean that in like a complimentary way. They just come out there and they just feel like they know they're better than you, and they're not afraid to do fancy shit and joke around and do big celebrations. I will say that's one thing I'd like to see Canada have a little bit more of. And the only guy who really did it at practice was Brad Marchand. And that's why he's one of my underrated X factors on the team. Is like, if that guy can give this team a bit of an identity early on, even Drew Doughty could do it. That's something they lack in comparison to the US.
Yeah, I agree. It's even true. Like you look back at World Junior teams as well, and it feels the same vibe, doesn't it? Of just like that, the arrogance on both sides of it. And I think it's a fine way to categorize it. And it's not to be rude to either side of it, but someone put in there, Canada has standards, and it's like, well, Canada needs to get back to those standards. I think if they want to do act like that a little bit too. So yeah, maybe a bit more professionalism on the Canadian side of things in terms of like players who have been there before and gone to Olympics, where this US team, it feels like it doesn't have that as much, right?
Yeah, it's a bit more of like, yeah, towards the end of the practice, I got the youthful energy vibe from the US when they were just kind of, screwing around, trying to score like cool in-tight moves on Connor Hellebuck, and he was going like whacking guys with his paddle and stuff. Like it looked like they were having fun. And then you compare it again to Canada, and like those 5 guys from the power play stayed out late in practice and we're like going through drills. Sidney Crosby's telling Nathan McKinnon, no, you can't be putting that puck on my back foot. You need it on my front foot. I want it this far away from me when I touch it. Like they were just, again, militaristic, like down to the inch of what they wanted to do. McDavid and Crosby were doing give and goes and like literally talking about like, no, don't curl here, be below the dot. And it was neat, again, to kind of observe the whole practice, the entire practice from both teams. Said a little bit about the state of those teams. But
well, I guess it would like who is the leader on the USA? And this is not me trying to downgrade the US, but like Crosby is Canada's guy, obviously, right? Like, and he is the captain, but like Matthews is the captain of the US, and he hasn't been to these events before. Like, I'm sure Crosby is just saying, I just want to not breeze through, but just like have an easier time, and then not trying to like, you want to have team chemistry, but at the end of the day, it's about scoring goals and winning hockey games.
Yeah, and I think that's fair too. I think the leaders on the USA are going to be guys who bring them into the fight and again give them that swagger. I'm looking at Matt Kachuk. I'm even looking at a guy like JT Miller, right? Like we know the kind of player JT Miller likes to play with. He's on a line with Brady Kachuk. That duo is going to be a pain in the ass to play against. And if I was John Tortorella, I'm starting that duo every game and saying, hey, go out there and bang some bodies and mix things up a little bit. What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.